Hi class, welcome to the third part of the social structure of theories crime presentation. So we're going to continue with Agnew's general strain theory, and this theory was developed in the 1980s, and it's going to include a much larger range of behavior because it doesn't concentrate on simply the lower class and provides a more applicable model for the frustrations that all individuals will face in everyday life. So unlike the other strain theories, the other strain theories assume that individuals internalize the American dream, and it results in frustration when they find out that it's a false promise. Specifically, those individuals in the lower class. This particular theory, the general strain theory, does not necessarily rely on that assumption. Instead, this theory assumes that people of all social classes and whatever economic position they're in will deal with frustrations in their routine daily life, which virtually can relate to anyone. So specifically, other strain theories, the previous ones we've discussed, such as those proposed by Merton, Cohen, Cloward, and Olin, focus on individuals' failure to achieve positively valid goals that they had been socialized to work toward to. Now, like these previous models, the general strain theory also focuses on the source of strain. However, general strain theory emphasizes two additional categories of strain, and those are the presentation of noxious stimuli and the removal of positively valued stimuli, which you can see here, that these two have been added. Now, within this model, it proposes that these three categories of strain, which are again failure to achieve goals, noxious stimuli, and removal of positive stimuli, will lead to stress and propensity to feel anger. So anger can be seen as a primary mediating factor in the causal model of the gender strain framework. What does this mean? So it is predicted that to the extent that the three sources of strain cause feelings of anger in an individual, that individual will be predisposed to commit crime and deviance. Although Agnew was clear in stating that if an individual can somehow cope with his anger in a positive way, then such feelings do not necessarily have to result in criminal activity. Now, these coping mechanisms can vary widely across individuals, with certain strategies working better for some people than for others. For example, some people de-stress by working out or running, whereas others do so by watching television or a movie. Now, when we discuss the addition of noxious stimuli and the removal of positive stimuli, noxious stimuli is something like an abusive parent, a teacher who always picks on a student, and a boss who puts undue strain on an employee. So when you put that into the picture, it could also cause strain. Or when you remove something positive, like the positive stimuli, like someone losing a good job, the loss of the use of a car for a period of time. For example, if that car gets you to that good job, and the loss of a loved one, that could be a positive influence, or simply make someone sad or strain them because they're no longer in the picture. Um, Along with this, Agnew specifically pointed to mechanisms in dealing with anger in pro-social ways. The primary prediction regarding coping mechanisms is that individuals who find ways to deal with their stress and anger in a positive way will no longer be predisposed to crime, whereas individuals who do not find a healthy positive outlet for their anger and frustrations will be far more likely to commit crime. Now, these are some of the assumptions, right, from Agnew's general strain theory. So this is what I just stated earlier. So you could pause it here. I'm going to continue. Now, there is evidence and some criticisms for this theory, like there is for all theories. So when focusing on an individual's perceptions of stress and anger, as well as their personal abilities to cope with these feelings, general strain theory will place more emphasis on the micro level of analysis, meaning on the individual. Still, due to its origins in the structural strain theory, it is included in this particular presentation, and it's going to be classified as belonging to the category of strain theories that includes the earliest, more macro level oriented theories that are focused at a general group. In addition, recent studies and revisions of the theory have attempted to examine the validity of this theory at the macro structural level. Now, since this theory was first proposed in the mid 1980s, there has been a great amount of research examining the aspects of this theory. So for the most part, studies have generally supported this model. In particular, most studies find a link between the three categories of strain and higher rates of criminality, as well as a link between the sources of strain and feeling of anger or other negative emotions like anxiety and depression. Although there have been criticisms of the theory and especially of the way the theory has been tested. So think of some of the assignments that you have already done linking string theory to bullying, to victimization, or to being a bully, string theory to committing crimes, etc. Now, as far as the policy implications go, um, for all these theories, is that first we have to remember that all the common assumptions found across all the variations of the strain theory is that crime is far more common among individuals who are under a great degree of stress and frustration, especially those who can't cope with or handle that particular stress in a positive way. Now, when looking at policy implications, the factors that are most vital for policy regarding social structure are those that involve educational and vocational opportunities and programs that are going to develop a healthy coping mechanism um, to deal with stress. Now, there are empirical studies that have shown that intervention programs that focus on education and vocational training and opportunities are needed for high-risk youths because those that do not have much motivation for such goals can have a significant impact reducing their offending rates. Specifically, providing an individual with a job or the preparation for a job is key to building a more stable life, even if the position is not a high-paying job. So essentially, the individual is less likely to feel stressed or strained. So in modern times, people are lucky to have a stable job, and this must be communicated to our youth. And ideally they will find some intrinsic value in the work that they're going to perform. And lastly, another key area of recommendations from the perspective of this framework involves developing healthy coping mechanisms for strain. After all, every individual deals with stress virtually every day. So the key is not to avoid stress or strain because at the end of the day, that's impossible, right? We're all going to feel stress from our jobs or from our work or relationships. So instead of avoiding stress, the key is to develop a healthy, legal way to cope with such strain. Like I said earlier, some people after work, they go to the gym, do other types of exercise, whether it's lifting weights or running, whatever the case is, yoga, watching a film, reading a book. So developing ways and communicating those ways so that individuals can cope with such stress. Um, this is the conclusion of this week's presentations. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.